G'day, how's it all going? Welcome to another video upload from Aspie with Attitude. If you're watching this for the first time, my name is David. I'm from Melbourne, Australia. I have autism, I have some speech difficulty, a speech impairment, and a speech impairment, and I have Asperger's syndrome, and that's why I call myself an Aspie. Since now I'm going to stop this now. This is how I finish reintroducing myself, since I am likely to have new viewers watching any of my videos for the first time from my channel, Aspie with Attitude. And what we'll be discussing this video upload is just some autistic life hacks, since this is what I do in my autistic YouTube contents. This will be the point that I begin to explain nagging. What nagging is, how nagging impacts on an individual who is on the autism spectrum. That's what this whole video upload is about. Across most of my video uploads, I tend to recap, giving references from my older video uploads, so you could check out any of my older video uploads, because it's time to get this overdone with. I would like to start off with explain what nagging is, what a definition and the meaning is. Okay, right. Nagging is when one person would constantly harass another person to do something, or to give reminders, such as like giving out reminders, repeating themselves over again, having it playing around, spinning around like a broken record, only to make sure that this person gets something done, or that the person would remember things and to understand any given reminders, and to just talk non-stop, even if it means repeating themselves. That's what nagging is. And now I'd like to get to a point to explain how nagging impacts on an autistic individual. This time around, instead of going on about my personal experience, maybe when I had been nagged, or either that I had nagged another person, I'd like to rather explain a show or stream on Netflix called Love on the Spectrum, which is the American or US edition, which is meant to be like season 2, which is a real life Netflix stream about autistic individuals finding their dates. It's going to be up to you to decide whether if I'm giving you a reviews on Love on the Spectrum season 2. Most of my viewers may have never seen the stream called Love on the Spectrum on Netflix. Either that, they do not have an access to Netflix, have no intention of using Netflix, or maybe never heard of Netflix before and don't know what it is. And for those who are familiar with Netflix and had seen Love on the Spectrum season 2, which is the US edition, this should be an easy example to explain how nagging would affect an autistic individual. The name of this autistic individual who was featured in this show, his name was James, who was identified to have long blonde hair, wore glasses, and took his date, Emma, to a Renaissance fair where people came to this fair in like medieval costumes, dressing up as if they're in the 1400s or in that period. So it's just pretty much like a carnival, just a real fun-filled event, since that James appears to be a Dungeons and Dragons kind of person, and he wanted to be in character. He wanted to dress in a medieval period, as I should say. Just get on with it proper. Before James' day did arrive for his date, and since that James was 34 years old, being on the autism spectrum, living with his parents, as what I see in the show, all his parents did was nag. How I reckon all this nagging had an impact on James that he appeared to experience an array of many autistic burnouts. For this video upload, I'd like to refer to episode 203, a video upload from the 31st of October 2021 where I did explain autistic burnouts. There's a main reference about how James was having a lot of autistic burnouts when he was being nagged by his parents in the show. While James's parents was nagging their 34-year-old autistic son, James did sound stressed out, and this appears to be a sign that he was going for an autistic burnout. While James most likely just wanted to be left alone, just to sort out his state, and he appears that he wanted the space all for himself in order to be able to self-regulate. Since I've explained this back in episode 96, that was all explained back in January 2020, that the poor dude needed to self-regulate while their parents were just on his back nagging about how his state should be done proper. I feel that all this nagging had frustrated James, since most parents sometimes do not realise that they're nagging. The only reason why James's parents insisted on nagging was just their way to make sure his date goes perfectly with Emma, especially things would go right for him, since that Emma was James's first date ever, and just pretty much a guarantee to make the date all special for James. After when I saw him at the Renaissance Fair, well, it just seemed to be very perfect for James. Well, the only thing that wasn't perfect at all was just all that nagging. Anyway, before I leave this example about nagging behind, since I like to have used a reference from Love on the Spectrum, which is season 2, the US edition, and that came out in 2022, just in case if you're going to be watching this video a few years on by then. So I'd like to mention just one more thing, how James did misplace his checkbook somewhere. What makes me think that James would have misplaced his checkbook was, while his parents was heavily nagging, this would have been like some sort of distraction, because James was unable to focus where he puts his belongings away, which means his parents was just almost going through information overload. That's just a whole art of nagging here. And that's how I like to explain how nagging would impact on an autistic individual. Nagging is not purely neurotypical behaviour. Even autistic individuals do nag a lot. I wanted to avoid explaining my personal experiences in regards to nagging. Yes, I even had fallen victim to nagging regardless of who the people were. Just something I like to keep personal to avoid causing offence and making gossip and rumours about other people. But believe me, I had nagged plenty of people in my whole entire lifetime. This goes to show that autistic individuals can nag too. The way I feel when I am nagged is that I feel annoyed, and it's enough to have me frustrated, as I had explained back in episode 128, something that I pretty much did in August 2020, which is just another old episode that I'd like to recap on as a reference. However it is, times I did nag, I did frustrate the other person, whether if he or she did get annoyed with me and took me as some sort of nuisance. And that's how annoying that nagging could become, and sometimes you just do not realise that I am nagging, or even that I have been nagged. Well, anyway, this will be it. So I decided to save this one for last, pretty much towards the end of video content. If you could, please don't forget to subscribe to Aspie with Attitude. That's all I ever ask for in terms of support. And also, if you want to keep up to date with my future uploads, please don't forget to ring this notification bell. That way you may not miss any of my videos. And don't forget to please like and share this video content around, since that is all I ask for in terms of support for this channel. Well, there's nothing else to explain, nothing more to nag about. And how I explained, please subscribe to my channel. If you would consider this as nagging, please let me know in the comments down below. This is a bit of a fun-filled video that I'm just trying to make. And just to finish it off though, like, you know, I've just decided to do over special effects above a fidget spinner. Well, another nag too. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to Aspie with Attitude. Peace and respect, and I hope you enjoyed this video content from David. See you next time.